So it's a brand new year. That means we've got a brand new set of movies to be excited about. And with all of the delays and COVID complications of the last few years being cleared out, that means we've got a gigantic, crazy set of movies dropping in 2023. It is absolutely stacked every single month, pretty much except January. January's not all that great. Every other month is absolutely stacked. So today I'm going to share my top 15 most anticipated movies of 2023. Yes, that's the right year. Recorded live at Fan Expo New Orleans. Woo! I have never recorded one of my rankings live before, so I'm very excited to see how all of this is going to work out. For those of you who are live in person afterwards, I'd love to ask you your most anticipated movies of the year. We'll do that right over here at this meet and greet table. And for those of you who are on the internet, join me down below in the comment section. Share your most anticipated films of 2023. My list is not the right list. It's just my list, and I would love to see yours. And I mean that. If all of us had the same opinions, life would be boring. We're supposed to have different opinions. So tell me your crazy opinions. Tell me your very ordinary, generic opinions. Just tell me your honest opinions. I would love to hear them. With all that said, let's get started with my top 15 most anticipated movies. And this was a tough list to make. If you look at the list of movies coming out this year of how many major directors have huge movies coming out and how many major franchises have interesting new releases, whew, it is a tough list. And the number of movies that you're gonna be like, really? You didn't have that in your top 15? I'm right there with you. Like, I can't believe it's not in my top 15 either. I did the best I could. Let's see how this goes. Coming in at number 15 is Argylle. So every year I try to put some in here that are a little bit less known. And if you don't know what Argylle is, this is a new film from Matthew Vaughn, the guy that directed Kick-Ass, as well as the Kingsman movies. This is a new spy thriller starring Henry Cavill. If you're wondering what Henry Cavill is up to now that he's no longer The Witcher or Superman, he's starring in a new spy thriller from Matthew Vaughn. This is a director that has tons of style, tons of energy. So whether his movies are good or bad, they're fun. There's something you pay attention to. So I don't know if it'll be good. I don't know if it'll be bad, but I'm interested in checking it out. Likewise, it's good to know that Henry Cavill still has a little bit of work now that two different studios have kind of lost his major franchises in a very short window of time. But this is based off of a book that hasn't been released yet, that the studio just went, whatever this book is, we want it. And so they acquired it. And that's what this one is. We don't know much about it. We don't have a trailer, but I'm very excited based off the genre, Matthew Vaughn and Henry Cavill. Next one on here, number 14, John Wick 4. This is like the craziest franchise of the last 10 years. I remember watching other YouTube channels. I think it was John Campion's Movie Talk. And they're like, hey, did you see this new trailer that just dropped? It's like, Keanu Reeves is mad about his dog being killed. It's like the dumbest trailer I've ever seen. I can't wait to watch it.
And so I'm like going in, okay, John Wick, I'm gonna watch this. And here's another kick at the can after Ronin 47. Awesome, I watched that trailer like 8 times this morning. You know, you hear the puppy squeak.
Oh God.
Then, you know, and going, oh, hell no.
Yep.
Oh, they gotta die.
Yeah.
They gotta die.
Yeah.
And somehow, Keanu Reeves avenging his dead dog has turned into the premium action franchise of the last 10 years. That, like, it was like the first trailer didn't come out till like a month before that movie came out. And now we're like anxiously awaiting what's going to happen in this intricate world of assassins and the table and all of this fun stuff. We're slowly like figuring all of it out. So every single one of these movies has had top-notch action. They keep bringing in interesting new people to have him fight. So you got Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins joining into this one. Also, Pennywise is the main villain in it. So John Wick battling Pennywise. What could possibly go wrong in that? And you just know they're going to bring their A game, whether it's Keanu Reeves, who's pushing 60, him, Tom Cruise competing to who can be the like coolest old guy that still can beat people up. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with it. They always deliver, so I'm excited about this. Next one up on here. This is a complicated one. Creed 3. So Rocky Balboa is my favorite movie character of all time. Stallone's my favorite actor of all time. And we have a continuing movie in that continuity. But if you follow the world of the internet, you also know Stallone is not happy with the producers of this movie. Like, really not happy. Specifically, one of the producers, he's like, called him the devil. And you're like, whoa, Stallone is on social media calling him the devil. And there have been posts that Stallone's brother, Frank Stallone, has posted trashing this whole production. And Stallone's official account liked it. And then their PR people were like, Stallone, please don't do that. So the Instagram posts were deleted, but I screen captured them on my phone before they were deleted. So if you want to see them, I can show you them afterwards, and I guess I'll cut them in the editing. That's crazy. But then in interviews with Stallone for his new TV show, Tulsa King, he said, hey, my beef isn't with Michael B. Jordan. I'd do another movie with him. I like him. He's got a great work ethic. I'm excited for him. It's just the producer. I can't support anything that producer's a part of.
Michael B. Jordan, nice guy. The studio is wonderful. If Michael B. Jordan, we come up with a story, I'll do Creed 4 with him as long as the other fellow's not involved.
Okay, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what to make of that. If Stallone says he's not mad at Michael B. Jordan, I'm not mad at Michael B. Jordan. And all the rumors early on were like, oh, he's going to battle Mr. T's son.
But I pity the fool.
That the plot of the movie is not him battling Mr. T's son. That would have been a terrible idea. That's not what they're doing. It's this whole other thing. The trailers look good. Like, I watched it, I went, yeah, that's like an interesting new take. That's a story that I don't think you could have told with Rocky, but it fits in this universe that has a personal tie into it. Young Drago's coming back. I don't know how that's going to work. All I know is I love these movies. I wish it had Stallone's blessing. It's too bad it doesn't. Hey, I'm going to be there, excited for another movie in this franchise. Next one on here, this wouldn't have made the cut not long ago. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. We got a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out. Now, I'm the right age that I was watching the 80s cartoon. Yes, we got a Casey Jones in the back of the room. Yes, this is amazing. Yes, he was my favorite character in the 1990 movie. I was there opening weekend in 1990 when it came out. I was there opening weekend when the second one came out. Now I've got kids that are the perfect age. So it's a multi-generational thing for me to be excited about Ninja Turtles. Generally speaking, I like them to be live action when they go to the movies because we have 1,000 animated TV shows. So this wouldn't have made the list until I did a little bit of research trying to dive into it. It's being co-directed by it's being directed by one of the co-directors of Mitchell's vs. the Machines. It's an animated movie that came out, I was going to say last year because I forgot we're in 2023. Didn't come out last year. Came out 2 years ago in 2021. Best animated film of that year. I love that movie. My family watched Mitchell's vs. the Machines roughly 1,000 times in 2021. We watched it 3 times per day for the entire year. That's only a slight exaggeration. As soon as I saw the director of Mitchell's vs. Machines is the person working on this, I was like, awesome. All right, I'm excited. That's it right there. If whatever that guy's up to, I want to check it out. See the announcement over there, they're not saying Sean Astin anymore, so it's slightly less distracting, but it's still a very loud announcer with a crackling mic right over there in my right ear. You're right, Chuck. It is very distracting. So those of you on the internet, if you can't hear it, there's a very loud speaker right over there shouting for the photo ops. Anyway, the other detail about this one is that Seth Rogen is producing it, which does not get me excited about it. I don't go, Seth Rogen producing Ninja Turtles. All right, a pairing made in heaven. But the stuff he's actually said sounds pretty fair and reasonable. What he said has made me go, all right, I can be on board with that. That works well enough for me. Next one on here, another one I got all kinds of feelings about, Super Mario Brothers. I'm all over the place on this one, on my feelings on this one, because you say we're doing a Super Mario Brothers movie, like, okay, you know, I'm fascinated. I saw the original live action movie in the theater when it came out in the early 90s. I was there for that disaster. I was young enough that I didn't realize, like, this is the worst movie ever made. I was like, that was weird. That doesn't feel like Super Mario, but I'm at the movies. This is cool. So they say they're doing another one, and they said Illumination's making it. That made me nervous, because Illumination, they make entertaining movies, but it's always kind of the same bag of tricks, like pop music, dancing, fart jokes. I don't think fart jokes, dancing, Super Mario Brothers, like, oh, that's kind of weird. Likewise, they announced Chris Pratt. I'm a big Chris Pratt fan, but I don't need him to voice every character in every animated movie, and he doesn't jump out at me like, you know what I think, Mario? Chris Pratt. And they put out the initial like teaser, and he's like,
what is this place? Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Let's go. And it was like so half-hearted. You're like, what? That was your like tease? Like, let's get people excited about our new Super Mario. Chris Pratt, half-hearted, doing a let's go. Like, I don't know about that. Then they put out the full trailer, and they're like bringing in Donkey Kong. They're bringing in Mario Kart. I was like, yeah, that's it right there. You guys are pulling this off. This is like the Mario movie that I'm actually excited to see. So the trailer started to win me over again. So Illumination makes me nervous. As a fan of Chris Pratt, seems like a weird pick for Mario. But the trailer itself, what they revealed, I was excited about it. And as we're talking about it, it's pretty fun. We've got a Mario right over there in the crowd joining in. Yeah, see right there. That's a better Mario right there in the room than Chris Pratt gave us, being paid millions of dollars to voice Mario. He's right over there. This is the guy we should have cast to play Mario. So this is incredible. He's got it right there, pulling it off, nailing it. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. But that trailer won me over. Like, when they went into Mario Kart, like, Mario Kart, that's the Mario game I still play. That's the one that I'm always trying to do family fun nights. Like, let's sit down and play Mario Kart. Love it. And they worked it in. I was like, man, they might have figured this one out. Oh, my 4-year-old is wandering around the room. That's kind of exciting. They crowded up. Don't know what she's up to. That's my 4-year-old, Karis, and then Liam watching her. They're both in red, so you can spot them easily. Anyway, I got distracted. There's a lot of stuff going on in the room. Next one on here, another one. I've got so many conflicted feelings on this one. I am all over the place on this one. Because Indiana Jones, one of my favorite movie characters of all time. Like, Rocky Balboa is #1. I don't know if Indiana Jones is #2, but he probably is. One of my favorite franchises, one of my favorite actors. Directed by James Mangold. If we don't have Spielberg, James Mangold, like, he did Ford vs. Ferrari a couple years back. That's a great movie. That was my favorite movie that year. Before that, he did Logan. That's a great movie. Going back to the 90s, he did Copland with Stallone, one of those first movies when I was still a dumb high schooler that was like, wait, serious movies can be awesome? Whoa. James Mangold was a part of me, that realization in my life 25 years ago. So many things about it seem great. But I don't know if you can do Indiana Jones with an 80-year-old man. I just don't know if it works. I don't know if the formula works of what you love about it. And Harrison Ford's not on the horse steroids that Stallone is on. He breaks bones. When he did Star Wars, he broke a bone doing this one.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Like, and so you watch the trailer and you know they're doing face swaps. Like, you watch the horseback riding scene, you can see his face sliding off of his body because they face swapped it. And what I love about the Indiana Jones movies is the practical stunt work. That they're on real sets. They dragged a guy in front of, underneath, and behind a truck. Like that classic, like, that was awesome. It was a throwback to Stagecoach from the 1940s. That's what I love. That's what they uniquely offer in the franchise. So when I watched the trailer, it gave me all the nostalgia feels when the music kicked in and he's talking to Saul. I'm feeling everything I'm supposed to feel. And at the same time, I'm looking at all the shots and I'm like, that's a lot of CGI. That's a lot of green screen. And so I'm going, man, I love this director. I love this character. I love this franchise. I'm getting the feels, but I'm nervous. And I think Disney hasn't had the best run the last few years. Disney's made 1,000 movies I absolutely adore. I don't feel like the last few years have been their best run. I feel like something's a little bit off. Once again, makes me nervous. This movie had a little bit of a troubled production where Spielberg was going to direct it. They switched him out. There was a lot of reshoots. There's a lot of murmurs around it. So, man, I want to love it. There's a few things that make me a little bit nervous about it. Next one on here, we got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I love the MCU. Phase 4, I thought was a little bit rocky, but this is the kickoff for Phase 5. The vibe of this trailer, I'm feeling it. My issue with Phase 4 was that it felt like it wasn't focused. It wasn't giving me a target for what everything's working towards. This movie gives us that. The big bad for this phase, or this era of phases, Kang, we finally really get introduced to him. I know that a version of him showed up in Loki, but this is where he's really emerging as that big threat. So it's giving me that target. And one thing that I'm just generally excited about, the Ant-Man movies up to this point in time have been kind of like intentionally lightweight MCU films. The previous 2 Ant-Man movies came out after Avengers films. So they do Age of Ultron, huge, gigantic film, and then we do a little heist movie. And then we do Infinity War. That's my favorite MCU film. Follow it up, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Little MacGuffin film about getting a briefcase. So they intentionally made them kind of smaller stories, catch your breath after the big, gigantic thing. This one, they're using it to kick off a phase. They're like, no. This isn't the lightweight stuff anymore. This isn't second-tier MCU. This is a major piece. You can't skip this one. This is the kickoff to a new phase. We're introducing Kang. You don't want to miss it. If they're telling me I don't want to miss it, I'm going to believe them. I don't want to miss it. So I'm excited about it.
I don't have to win. We both just have to lose.
You know, it's not top level excitement because I've seen a couple Ant-Man movies before. MCU, we're at like 30 movies now, so a little bit of the shine's not quite there like it used to be. Still, no actual specific negatives. I'm just kind of pumped for this one. Moving right along, here's one we got a trailer for just a couple days ago, Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead is one of my favorite horror franchises, and I actually want to thank you guys for showing up to my panel and not the panel going on right over there. Sam Raimi, the director of the first 3 Evil Dead movies, is doing a panel right over there. You're lucky I showed up because I wanted to go to his panel, and Chuck happened to schedule my panel the same time as Sam Raimi, so I can't go over check out Sam Raimi's panel.
I'm very disappointed.
My love of movies, horror films, goes back to the 90s with Evil Dead, and it's a franchise. It has no bad entries. They're weird. They're all over the place. Some of them are basically Three Stooges in medieval times. Other ones are like, whoa, that was a very gnarly movie that was violent. They're all over the place, but all of them are good. All of them are memorable. And they put out the trailer for this one a couple days ago. This is not one of the ones that's funny.
Groovy.
This is one of the ones where you're like, whoa. My wife, I put out a trailer reaction for it, and someone put a tweet out saying, these are my favorite reactions to the new Evil Dead trailer. My wife, she's not going to watch the trailer at all. Like, she didn't want to see one frame of this trailer, but she wanted to see my reaction. So she watches my reaction, and like, she can hear the trailer, but she's like hiding the footage. And she watches just me going like, oh, what are they doing with that cheese grater? And she goes, I will never watch that movie. I don't want to see one frame of that movie. I don't want to see anything. Whatever that reaction was, whatever made you make that face, I've never seen you make faces like that before. And if a horror movie makes me go, oh, just in the trailer, the version you can post on the internet, not the movie, just the trailer on the internet. If it's freaking me out like that, you got a good horror movie.
Groovy.
I'll add one more piece to this. I've got a guy that is out in LA. He goes to all kinds of test screenings. Like, he's in the test screening circuit. He saw this movie last summer, and he told me, like, he texted me, the word he used was awesome. Like, it's awesome. Be on the lookout for it. It's the real deal. It's another great entry in the franchise. So if you're kind of new to horror movies, Evil Dead is not entry-level horror. Just so you know, some people are like, oh, you're saying it's great. Should I check this one out? Like, probably not a good starting point. They're brutal. They're very brutal movies. Probably start somewhere else. Next one on here, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The first Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, or Into the Spider-Verse, such an awesome Spider-Man movie, such an awesome comic book movie, such a great animated movie that's like on every level, it's interesting and unique in something that you like, oh, that was like really heartfelt. Oh, wow, look at all these different Spider-Man we're doing. The animation style is interesting. It's unique. It's fun to watch. So on every level, it's just a winning film. So we got a new one coming out instantly. It's one of my most anticipated. Instantly, I'm so excited to check this one out simply because the first one was so good. The reason it's actually not a little bit higher is that they've given us 2 trailers now. One of them was like over a year ago. One of them was about a month ago. And thus far, they've only marketed on, look at all the Spider-Men in it. Like, look at them. That's kind of what the whole trailer's been, which on the one hand, superficially, it's like, yeah, look at all the Spider-Men. And this is wild. But the other side of that formula, what elevated the first one, like what made it fun superficially was all, Nicolas Cage's Spider Noir and like doesn't understand what colors are. That's incredible. But what takes it to that next level is that it's a great Peter Parker story and it's a great Miles Morales story of just like whichever side you are, whatever age you are, there's a story with a lot of heart to it. I'm in my 40s now, a little bit aged. And so that Peter B. Parker story, like that hits all the right notes for me. I've had my failures, and having a Spider-Man that's failed and is still learning to come back and be strong, that's so exciting. And so that's that piece that I haven't seen what it is yet because they've just marketed it on, look at all the Spider-Men. So that's cool, but I hope that we also get that heart in there too. Next one on here, number 6, Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan, one of my absolute favorite directors, and not just one of my favorite directors, but one of those important directors for me. His first wide-released film was Memento. He had a movie before that called Following. It was kind of very ultra low budget, but his first one that kind of got released, Memento, and it came out right as I was like discovering, wait, there's movies that come out that aren't just about buildings exploding and have aliens. Wait, there's like small budget movies too. And this movie comes out called Memento that it plays backwards. And it's like, wait, a movie that plays backwards? Whoa, my mind blown. And so that was one of my like gateways into understanding cinema beyond blockbusters. And then he goes on to direct some of the best blockbusters of all time, both comic book movies, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then like original stuff like Inception that's just like, wow, how did this movie get made? How's it so good? Only Nolan could do this. Anything he puts out, instantly top 10 most anticipated movies of the year for me. The Oppenheimer specifically isn't the thing that like, I'm like, oh, I've always loved Oppenheimer, so I can't have it like all the way at the top because subject matter isn't 100% the thing I'm most interested in. All I know is he's going to bring something extraordinarily interesting to it. Even when he makes a movie that I'm not crazy about, like Tenet, I didn't fully work for me, they're interesting missteps. Even as missteps, you go, I get what you were going for, so can't wait to check it out. Number 5 on here, wildest movie on this list, The Flash. This movie's been in development for roughly 1,000 years. They've been trying to get this made. Way back 20 years ago, David Goyer was attached. Sean Levy, who did the Night at the Museum movies, was attached, and who's now doing Deadpool 3. He was attached over 10 years ago. And then they got the modern version, and they've just gone through director, writer. Me, baby, one more time. I never thought this thing was going to get made. Then it gets greenlit, it starts to happen, and they announce Michael Keaton is going to return as Batman in The Flash. If you're my age, for the first 8 years of my life, 7 years of my life, we had Christopher Reeves as Superman. That was it. That was, and Howard the Duck. That was it, Christopher Reeves. And then, one of my earliest movie memories, Batman 89, Michael Keaton. And that was all we had. Like, there were like these low budget, small scale Marvel things that came out that didn't even hit theaters. We had Michael Keaton. That was the superhero guy. It's not like now where every weekend a new movie comes out that's a major comic book movie. We only had Michael Keaton. You have to understand how massive he is to people my age, and he's coming back. Wow. This is incredible. It's being directed by the guy that did It. And then there was the last 2 years of headlines because Ezra Miller is the biggest PR nightmare in cinematic history. Hey, baby, one more time. Like, what on earth is going on here of just nonstop weird headlines? And I don't want to just dunk on the guy because some of it's so bizarre. It is funny. Clearly, there's some mental health issues going on. I only want the best for the guy, but also like he's whatever the word for it is, he's dangerous, and also makes like, how do you put him on the press tour for your movie? How do you promote your movie when the star has been in headlines for multiple alleged felonies? So it's this bizarre set of things. But then the other piece, all of the test screenings apparently have gone really well. So over the last year where like Batgirl gets canceled and people are like, wait, Batgirl's canceled, but the movie starring the guy that's like a felon is still coming. What's going on here? Apparently it's really good. My guy that goes to test screenings, my guy he's one of the 10 people on the planet that saw Batgirl. And he didn't have great things to say about it. He's like, oh yeah, it felt like a TV show, like 2-hour TV show. That's what it felt like. He hasn't seen The Flash, but all of his buddies that go to test screenings have seen it. And I told him, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's a blast. So everything I've heard, it sounds really good. I'm hoping the movie itself is more entertaining than the behind-the-scenes nightmare that's been the release of the film. But any way you put it, I love The Flash. I'm always rooting for movies to be awesome. And Michael Keaton is in it. Michael Keaton is like, that's crazy that that's happening. And it's getting overshadowed by a star that's whatever you want to call all of this stuff that's been going on. Next one on here, Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon, the new Zack Snyder film. It might not actually come out this year, but basically he's talked about it as like his Star Wars. Maybe, depending on certain interviews, it sounds like he might have pitched it to Lucasfilm originally as a Star Wars project.
No way!
But then it obviously spun off to be its own thing. Zack Snyder is one of these guys that he's spicy food. If you love his stuff, you find it interesting and you can't wait to check out what he's going to do next. But if you don't like spicy food, you don't like it. I've got some friends that love almost everything that I love. They hate Zack Snyder films. I thoroughly enjoy his films. Not all of them work. Some of them are like Sucker Punch. I don't know what that was. That didn't work for me. But it's an interesting misstep. It's like a movie that you're like, that didn't work, but man, he went for it. He doesn't go subtle. He goes hard, even if it's an insane idea. So the idea that he's trying to do his Star Wars, his big sci-fi universe, I want to see what that is. I want to see what he's trying to do with all of that. I'm excited to check that out. All right, real quick before I give you my top 3, I want to remind all of you, if you're here, I'm going to do a meet and greet right over here once we're over with the panel. And while you're there, I want to ask you your most anticipated film. So hopefully, and like film some of your reactions to cut it into the video for the channel. What's your most anticipated movie of 2023?
Toho's new Godzilla movie that we're releasing in November.
Oh, interesting. So that one's not on my radar.
But it's going to be set in like the 1940s, like just post-war Japan.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm very interested to see it.
Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer.
Can't go wrong with Nolan.
My most anticipated movie is easily Across the Spider-Verse. I love the first one so much, and I love Marvel, so I'm excited to see it.
Any horror movie that comes out, I'm looking forward to it.
The Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one, and I agreed with you about that second one.
I wanted to see Mario, but I have a question. Like, did you think like Shazam was like really bad and you didn't like want to see it?
No, that's just how tough of a year it is. There's just so many. Like I have a runner-ups list that it's in there. I'm excited for that movie. I want to see it. There's just that many movies that it's like, what do I pick?
I'm excited for the movie with the dinosaur and Adam Driver, like 65.
Yeah. That one's in my runner-up list too. That's she likes monster movies, so like Adam Driver with dinosaurs, whatever that is, like, yeah, sign me up.
I'm gonna go with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Just feels right up my alley, so.
I'm definitely gonna have to go with Mission Impossible 7. I mean, this is a franchise that just keeps getting better and better.
I agree on Mission Impossible. I think Creed was too low, though. I'm excited about Creed.
It's the behind the scenes with Stallone where I just have enough loyalty to be like, I don't know, man, but if it wasn't for that, it would be higher up.
I'm going to have to go with Scream because I want to see a Scream without Sydney, see how it turns out.
It's another one that's like, when I looked at my list, it's like, how is this not in my top 15? Because, man, I'm super excited about that one.
Plus Samara Weaving. I love Samara Weaving.
Well, and then Hayden's coming back as Kirby.
Originally it was Scream 6, but if it's not that, I think it would be the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Guys that are doing that, they were lined up to do Flash. They were one of the people that were going to do Flash, and then it fell through, and they're doing Dungeons and Dragons instead.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, mostly because of the fact that Christopher Nolan has made very good movies.
Can't go wrong with Nolan. And for those of you on the internet that are watching, join me down below in the comment section. I want to know what you're excited about, especially if I miss something a little bit smaller. I know the big franchise stuff, but the smaller stuff, that's the one I'm interested in. In third place is Dune Part 2. So I said in my review of the original Dune Part 1, I think I gave it like an A-, and I said, but if they announce a Part 2, I'll bump that up to an A. It ends on a note where it's a little bit of like unresolved issues, and I was like, as long as we greenlight the second one, it gets to be an A.
When we get Part 2, if we get Part 2, my score on this one might go up, but without kind of resolution to more plot lines, it just feels like half of a story.
And then 2 weeks later, they're like, we're doing a second one. I was like, cool, bumped it up to an A. Naturally, I'm so excited to check this one out. I've never read Dune. I hadn't seen the David Lynch version before I went into this one. And I just thought it was just like very immersive, mature, grown-up sci-fi with world building, complicated characters, and just like an entirely believable world. Like just impeccable production design. Like not one single flaw in any of the visual effects. Everything was believable. Everything looked cool. And it just felt like this massive world I wanted to spend more time in. And this year, we get to spend more time in that world. Along the same lines, Denis Villeneuve, he's one of those top directors that just keeps on putting out fantastic films that of different genres, all of them interesting, all of them fun. Not fun. That's the wrong word to describe Denis Villeneuve movies. Fun is not the right word. All of them worth watching. All of them engaging. All of them suck you in. And as someone that loves sci-fi, him continuing this massive world of Dune, I'm all on board for it. Runner-up on here, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, if you follow my channel, you might be aware the hottest take on my channel, the opinion I've shared that I've gotten the most crap for, is that I did not like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That it came out and it disappointed me, and every time I've rewatched it, I liked it less. I've been staying at a hotel across the street the last few days, and it played on cable, so we actually watched it in sections, and my wife and I were like, it just doesn't work for us. We just don't like it. And so it's one of those movies that some people might be surprised that it's high on my list. I loved the first movie so much. I just fell in love with those characters, and Volume 2 felt like a misstep, but not a misstep that made me go, James Gunn's a one-trick pony. I didn't think that. And then Infinity War came out, and we got to spend more time with them. Kind of had the fun with Thor joining in. I was like, I love these characters. They show up in Endgame a little bit, and some of them, you go deeper with like Nebula, Rocket. You get to see their serious side where they've lost everything. And then we got the holiday special just a month ago. My family, we've watched it 5 or 6 times. The 4-year-old right over there, she loves the Christmas songs in it, and she doesn't know the words to any song except James Gunn's Christmas songs from that holiday special. And watching it, it just reminded me how much I love these characters. Add to that, what an insane backstory for a movie. James Gunn's hired to make it. He writes it, gets fired over 10-year-old tweets, gets hired by the competition, makes a movie, gets rehired by Disney. Then his movie for DC comes out. Then he makes his movie for Marvel. Then DC hires him to be over their whole studio before his Marvel movie comes out.
What a story, Mark.
So right now, he's working for both Marvel and DC at the same time. He said this month he's going to put out his slate of DC movies while he's doing the post-production for his Marvel movie. What an insane story that just makes this movie more interesting, because it's like, yeah, it's his last Marvel thing before he takes over the competition. That's wild. That's just such an insane Hollywood story that makes it interesting for me. But my most anticipated movie, of course, is Barbie. As someone that grew up playing with Barbies, that still plays with Barbies, and that has a Barbie tattoo on my lower back, I, of course, am so excited. Okay, none of that's true. I can't. Film Twitter is obsessed with this movie, and I just can't get it. It's not. I'm not the target audience, but I just see people on film Twitter like, I can't wait to see Barbie. Like, all right, cool. I watched the trailer and I was confused. I actually watched it with my 8-year-old over here with the bloody nose, and she's like, what's going on at the beginning? If you haven't seen the trailer for it, it's like a reference to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Wow, that was weird.
As a promotion for a Barbie movie, it's crazy. So I don't know what, but it's not one of my most anticipated. I'm curious about it because I just have no idea what it's going to be. But what a wild ride! Now, number one for me, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I've always loved these movies. You know, I saw the first one in the theater opening weekend when it came out. They've always delivered. Even the second one, which is weak, was directed by John Woo. I was a massive fan of Hong Kong cinema in the 90s. So when John Woo was directing Mission Impossible, I was like, my whole world's coming together. This is so exciting. Didn't fully pay off, but even that one, it's an interesting, not so great movie in a franchise. Every other movie in this franchise, I think, is awesome. And they kind of only keep getting better and better. And this year, or not this year, we're in 2023. Last year with Top Gun Maverick, it just felt like a movie that reminded me of a different way of doing movies that only Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise are doing. Of like old school, we're not going to go on a green screen to film our plane scenes. We're going to take all these people and train them for 6 months so they can go up in a jet. We're going to invent technology to put cameras in a jet. And they put out a special feature a few weeks back for this movie. It's 10 minutes long, and it's only about one scene in the movie where Tom Cruise, 60-year-old man, rides a motorcycle off of a cliff. And it's basically on how he had to train for a year to do that because he did that. They didn't put him on a green screen. It's not a stunt man. 60-year-old Tom Cruise, who's very expensive to insure, spent a year of his life. And when you're 60, like, time is precious. And he said, you know what? I want my movie to be awesome. And I want it to do something that no one's ever done before and deliver real value, awesome value. How can I keep upping the game? What if I spend a year learning how to ride a motorcycle off a cliff and then use a parachute to not die? And he did that. And that's the detail for how this movie works. And he also put out a video where it's him in a plane basically thanking people for watching Top Gun Maverick. And he's like talking to the camera, and the director's like, hey, man, it's Christopher McQuarrie, the guy that's directing the Mission Impossible movie. He's like, hey, man, we need to get the shot. Can you just jump out of the plane real quick? And Tom's like, all right. And he just jumps.
We'll see you down there. Whoa. Where was I? Oh, yeah, thank you for supporting Top Gun Maverick.
And you're watching it, and Tom Cruise jumps out of a plane, and he doesn't bat an eye. He doesn't blink. He's not, like, nervous. And I was literally thinking, I get more nervous turning left in my car than this guy does jumping out of a plane. And then in the special feature I was just talking about, they're like, yeah, for a year straight, he did 20 jumps out of a plane. And you're like, oh, the reason he doesn't think twice about jumping out of a plane is because he jumps out of the plane more than I change my clothes by a lot. He jumps out of planes dramatically more than I change my clothes.
They were doing 30 jumps a day.
Oh, because he's that committed to doing it. And that's so refreshing. I love the Marvel movies. My career grew because of the Marvel movies. There's just something special about movies that aren't all green screen, that aren't all CGI, that have people doing insane things where you know it's real. And my favorite movie of last year was Top Gun Maverick. That excitement is just pouring into this movie. And I put out a video whenever they announced Christopher McQuarrie, who directed the last two Mission Impossible movies, were directing this one. I put out a video saying like, oh, really? He's coming back. Why don't you bring in some fresh blood? That's one of the things I loved about the early Mission Impossible movies. You always had a different director. I said I was not excited about this movie 2 years ago when they announced Christopher McQuarrie returning. Forget all of that. That Sean Chandler was an idiot. This is going to be awesome. There's no way around. This movie's going to be awesome. I can't wait to check it out. So Anyway, those are my most anticipated movies for the year. If you're watching on the internet, join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your most anticipated. Those of you guys in the room, afterwards, I'll be right over there at that table where that family's at. I would love to meet every single one of you. I will be over there. As long as you want to wait, I will wait to talk with you. Thank you guys so much for watching on video as well as here in person, and keep talking movies and TV too much.